Who Owns the Future? Jaron Lanier, chapter 7. This is another chapter about kind of economic sides, the financial side, and specifically zeroing in on the financial sector of networks. So what is of primary interest to me is whether there are new options for solutions available now that were not available in other eras. One early example of computer networks transforming an industry on a global scale did not come from a social networking site or from search or any den of mathematicians working in Silicon Valley or Wall Street. Instead, consider Walmart. So he then explains how Walmart is a real world brick and mortar concern that was an early adopter to the network idea and the idea of the internet. So overall, Walmart has brought about much good. But one of the interesting things was sort of the Cold War era and the fear of China and Russia, the intensely real situation that was, and China was kind of desperate. And what Walmart did Walmart's servers helped coordinate the demand side of the rise of China as a manufacturing powerhouse. Economic interdependence had been faintly imagined, occasionally as a way to avoid a new hot superpower confrontation. But in the 80s, that was barely imaginable, and yet it happened. There's a lot of information. It's a really interesting snippet of history that not many people know about, is how Walmart, diffused a major source of tension during the Cold War with China by helping them spurn this economic growth through networks, and that Walmart could essentially control China's economic power this way by controlling the demand side of their exports. So siren servers can achieve good. My argument is not that siren servers always do harm. Often they accomplish great good in the short term. We are, however, using the power of networks to optimize for the wrong things overall. I love this, and it's something I want to keep. This really awesome perspective on issues that, like, again, I find myself doing this whenever I'm focused in on issues. A lot of times I focus on pointing out all of the flaws, all of the things that are wrong. And that's when you're trying to argue against someone that shares a different perspective, it becomes a diminishing view of the whole thing, which diminishes your credibility. And so if you can recognize the good that it's accomplished, but then counter with the negative or the harm that surmounts or overtakes the good, then that's more effective as an argument. Walmart recognized early that information is power, and that with digital networking you could consolidate extraordinary power. Noting here. Think about the Invention of Power book. How the invention of power was that decision. It's the church and state formalizing an agreement to that establishes that money can be exchanged for power, power for money. What networks did was introduced information to that equation. Now, money, power, and information it's a triangle. Okay. Walmart's fledgling servers gather information about simple but valuable conditions out in the world at large. What could be made, where and when, what could be moved, where and when, who would buy what, and when, and for how much. Any little portion of this database would previously have been of value only to a few local players directly affected by it. But by collecting a lot of such information in one place, an overall global picture emerged. This is the wild change of perspective that network technology can give you. The company gradually became the sculptor of its own environment. Huge key. I love the line, this is the wild change of perspective that network technology can give you. Or this speaks to how the national global brands, right? This, and maybe I already mentioned this in this video, or it just was a thought that I had, but by collecting big data, a vast amount of global information, they now have the best access on to data of even local environments, such that they know how to serve local environments better than local businesses. And I will caveat that by saying it's not that they are better, it's just that they have data that signals how to make these people purchase in a certain way. So so here's an interesting thing, and this leads to a huge idea, so pay attention to this. Walmart could practically dictate the price and delivery targets with the reduced risk and increased precision of an attack drone. Suppose you ran a service or parts company in the 1990s. You went to a company that sold products to Walmart and stated your price for something needed by that company. That company would often find itself saying, sorry, Walmart has decreed a price for our product that doesn't allow us to pay you as much as you want. It turned out that Walmart had calculated a pretty good guess before you showed up about what everyone's real bottom lines would be. Often enough, you would realize that you could barely accept the counteroffer, even though it wasn't what you were looking for. This is critical. So like, imagine the advantage of this massive national retailer saying, like, you're going into this meeting, it's a business meeting, and I kind of can't help but chuckle, like what that would look like pre-90s is a lot of smoke and mirrors, I think, those businesses, to sell their products. There was this mutual respect of, like, essentially what happens is Walmart eliminates that mutual respect between the business and the retailer. It undermines that dignity there, that the retailer or that the business providing the product knows how to operate, or is operating with integrity, and is when it's providing you with its price points, that it's doing so on the basis of good reason. And then here comes Walmart with this network now and saying, no, we already know all of the information about you. We know that this is what you can sell these at that would get people to buy. We know your bottom line. Like, you can't counter us, essentially. And it's just enough that of a value that, that they would all kind of begrudgingly accept the terms. So then every retailer, like, once everyone realized what Walmart was doing, everyone was doing it. And that created this vicious cycle. So everyone else's margins got slammed to the bare minimums. It was like playing blackjack with an idiot savant who can't help but count cards. This is the moral puzzle of siren servers. In the network age, there can be collusion without colluders, conspiracies without conspirators. So it has often been claimed that Walmart plays a role in the reduction of employment prospects for the very people who tend to be its customers. Walmart has certainly made the world more efficient in a certain sense. It moved manufacturing to any spot in the world that could accomplish it at the very lowest cost. It rewarded vendors willing to cut corners to the maximum degree. Walmart's defenders might acknowledge some churn in the labor market, but to paraphrase the familiar rebuttal, making the market more efficient might have cost some people their jobs, but it saved even more people a lot of money by lowering prices. In the long term, everybody wins because of efficiencies. That's the quote, end quote. It's certainly reasonable to expect that making economic activities more efficient ought to increase opportunity for everyone in the longer term. However, you can't really compare the two sides of the equation of lower prices and lower job prospects. So, if you already have enough to live on, saving some money on a purchase is a nice perk. But if you haven't reached that threshold, that livable amount of income, or if you had been there but lost your perch, then saving is not the equivalent of making. It instead becomes part of a day-to-day calculus of just getting by. You can never save enough to get ahead if you don't have adequate career prospects. Sure, there might be fewer jobs, but fewer. No amount of cost lowering can foster economic dignity when it also means that there are fewer good jobs. So I've noted here that it's as if the consequence of these decisions and of what they did, and ultimately the consequence of Walmart as a whole right now, is that they literally reshaped the world of business. Like, it's hard to conceptualize just how profound that is. But the consequence is that they reshaped the world by bringing all quality down. All quality. So, like, in order for this global company to be at the top, to rise by offering the lowest price points, was essentially by lowering the overall standards across the board globally. That comes in the quality, and it has sort of a reverse peel back the layers consequence. So, like, using the auto parts manufacturer, the parts manufacturing thing, where Walmart knew the bottom line. Basically, Walmart said to everyone, you can only participate with us if you're going towards the lowest common denominator. that means cutting corners on everything, cutting corners on manufacturing, cutting corners on distribution, all of these different things, doing everything possible to bring the cost down, which, a few different ways that happens is automation, automating things, automating jobs, processes, which eliminates jobs. One of the ways that happens is if you can't produce the thing at your current quality to deliver on that price point, you will lower the quality. Eventually you will have to, if you want to stay alive. It might not be one of the first things. It's not like people are like, oh, we have to bring in this lower price point, our quality is going to go down. It's a byproduct of all the other things that happen until eventually the quality of everything has diminished, so the quality of the product then diminishes. And then you eliminate jobs. And so this is a key on what I've been talking about for the minimum wage argument, but the lowest level of income to live comfortably. And the impact of eliminating so many of those jobs, automating so many of those jobs, is that now we're only leaving the higher, degree jobs as you've removed a layer of jobs that you can live on that have qualification levels. And so the bar has risen for quality of life standards. You have to obtain more qualifications, all of these things. So you've eliminated an entire sector of livable conditions. And so like your needs, your expectations are not maximally efficient from the point of view of our server. Therefore, we are reshaping the world so that in the long term, your prospects are being reduced. So the savings, let's focus in on the savings here. Like the cost of everything is lower, but when you eliminate the people who really depend on that value price, it starts out as the value price. It starts out as a perk, but then over time turns into it has an evening out of that. It set the tone for that to be the lowest. It's pushing the top all the way down to that level because of the way it reshaped the world. It's so hard to explain, but it's there. I hope I find a way to describe it adequately enough. Then he gets into the financial side of everything. I'm calling out, he's mentioning, so he's talking about the financial sector, how they introduced networks, and he's calling out things like Black Monday, Long-Term Capital, and Enron. And he said that people would do well to familiarize themselves with that. And essentially his claim, his argument in the financial world is that, like if you can pull money out of sufficiently advanced math, then the law couldn't keep up with it even if it tried. The idea being that the financial sector already kind of prone to, you know, maybe negative sides of our economic tendencies, or bad or even illegal tendencies, that the advancement of networks just allows them to deflect responsibility, to hide behind algorithms and math to exploit the systems, so that they can always be one step ahead of regulation, that they can use the math to find the loopholes in everything and exploit it until there's a new regulation that would just be another way to find another loophole. So just as this book left my hands, regulators in Europe began to consider the regulation of high-frequency trading. I hope they appreciate the nature of the challenge they face. To an algorithm, a circuit breaker or timing limit is just another feature in the environment to be analyzed and exploited. Algorithms will learn to trip circuit breakers at the right millisecond to capture a profit. Undoing the siren server pattern is the only way back to a truer form of capitalism. Right, and this kind of goes back to, and he expands on, there's a bunch that I'm not mentioning about the financial side, but just that essentially they're just all of the, what the networks allow them to do, and this is this more like the idea of the perfect investment, that it's not necessarily about having the perfect investment, but like it's about exploiting the system of it. And so like ways that showed up would be timing of investments. If they figure, through algorithms, they figured out if they, bought or sold or, transferred money from accounts in different countries at specific times, that the interest on them would have this like compounding effect. And so they were doing, these crazy things that were basically not having to do with anything about market or it totally eliminated the production of, or the output of the business side of the economy, as much as it just exploited the system of the network of the financial industry to kind of create sure things.